Hello and welcome back to Mom of Three and Me, where we talk all things motherhood, marriage, and ministry. Today, I'm so excited about an interview that I've done as a part of our Coffee and Conversation, or what I've actually recently rebranded as our Momversation series. Unfortunately, the video did not load for this, but the audio is still here, and this is some really good content. So you will be able to hear me and a friend, Merilyne, really talk about motherhood. Merilyne is a mom of four girls, so she shares just how that is, and I hope that you really enjoy the interview. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, all right. We're doing it.
We are doing it.
All right, guys. So, welcome back to Mom of Three and Me. I'm Brieanna Lightfoot Smith. I am the mom and Mom of Three and Me, where we talk about marriage, motherhood, and ministry. And I have a special guest with me. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Merilyne, and I'm a mother of four girls.
Four girls. Yes. Give us their ages.
Yes, I have a 19-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Okay. So there's a decent gap between each of them, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because my first daughter, I was a teenager, so it was a teenage pregnancy. And after her, I took a break, and then I had the two other ones back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I was done. And then came number 4.
Yeah. I feel like I heard this guy a couple days ago. He actually does work on our house, and he was talking about how his daughter is due in a month, and she's 42, and how she thought she was done, and how she thought she was feeling like a lot of, she's feeling hot, she was feeling sick, and she thought she was going through menopause. So she went to her OB-GYN, or she might even just gone to a regular doctor and was like, yeah, I just want to figure out what's going on with me. I've been feeling weird. Like, I don't know if it's time for me, if I'm experiencing the change, as they call it. And he was like, oh, no, you're fine. You're just pregnant.
Surprise.
She was like, what? Yeah, because she has, I think he said another daughter, and her daughter is 15. So 15-year age gap, honey, baby child. I was like,
yeah.
God knew, right? He already predestined, so it's fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone shared with me recently that they have a friend who was expecting their first child at 50, and I was like, you say who and what?
You're like, so when they go to college, I'm gonna be 70? I don't know about y'all, but that's whenever I think about, I'm like, so how old will I be when they are gone, and will I have enough vibrancy in my life after where I want to keep doing things?
Exactly. That's the default thought process. Yeah. It's like, how old should I be running after small children?
Right.
Yeah.
That is so funny. So one of my first questions, especially because you do have 4 girls, obviously boys and girls come with their own unique personalities.
Yes.
And we've talked about this offline, but how do you connect with each of your girls? Because they do have such unique personalities, and it's not a one size fits all when it comes to parenting.
No, it is not. It is not. Well, right now at this stage of life, I've grown better as an individual, so it's easier for me to see my kids as individuals. Mm-hmm. It wasn't always so, but right now I think it's just being intentional about spending time with them individually and listening to them uniquely, keeping in mind that this kid is not that kid, and just like really be intentional, because that's the only way I could put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that, and I had shared this on my Instagram previously, but I realized when Jaden, the first week of school for Jaden, I was getting frustrated because I was spending more time with John. I'm like, bruh, I feel like we're not vibing. Right. And I had to realize, I'm doing things with you that I do with Jaden that he likes. So let's see what it is that you like. And I realized he's more of a homebody. So I was like, me and Jaden, I call him my road dog. I'm like, okay, well, let's go here. We're going to run errands. We're going to go have lunch and all these other things. And John's like, can we go home? And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not fun. Or I don't feel like that's quality time. Right. Because at home, we're always at home. Right. But if he's saying that's what he wants to do, then you got to listen. Yeah, you got to listen to it. So I'm still balancing that. And I have no idea how Joshua's going to be, what his particular love language will be, because he's only 6 months. So right now I'm just like, well, I'm going to cuddle you, and I'm going to make sure you have food, and that's it for now, buddy. We'll see kind of what you tend to do more, or what you tend to crave more, I guess.
Yeah, well, to your point, you really don't know until you're actually in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you get to that moment and you're like, oh, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like they come like with a manual and okay, this is how you're gonna parent
Right.
that kid.
Right.
It's like as you go along, and that's kind of like how you figure out your kid's personality. And sometimes it's trial and error.
Yeah.
Most times it's
Most
trial,
times.
trial and error. So it's like by doing something that doesn't work, so you know what not to do next time.
Right.
That's just how
That's
it
so
is.
funny. So having 4 who are all in school, right? Your oldest is in college, correct?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
How do you make time for yourself? And then how do you, I guess, check in to see how you all are navigating through the seasons, because you just moved here recently.
Yes, that is such a major shift for us. But I'm really blessed to see that, the kids are really on board with it and they're excited. And some of the struggles I could have had if I had to like pull their ears, I don't have that. So it's easier to like transition when everybody's excited.
Yeah.
Even when I'm unsure myself, the fact that I look at them and they on board, it encourages me to know that, okay, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful, what I model for them in that moment, and then what I let them see, because they are excited. And when I'm like worried and scared, so I don't have to project that on them and then just like make them fearful as a result of that. Yeah.
Okay. How does your faith influence your parenting? I mean, because even that ties into your move, because moving was a faith move. So how do you show them like, okay, I feel like God is telling us to do this. This is what we're gonna do.
Yes, listen, my faith is essential. Like that's the foundation of the parenting, and I have something to compare. I can compare like when I wasn't walking a life of faith, and the result and the shift that I've seen happening throughout, like, and where we at right now. The other day we were doing devotional, and we were reading about Abraham and the whole story and how God called him. And then my second daughter was like, oh, that's kind of like us, right? And I'm like,
wow,
yeah, that's definitely what we do. And just like get up and just go to a land.
Go to the place where you,
exactly. And I will show you. It's like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, it's good that they have reference for that.
Yeah.
And how my faith really ties into parenting. Again, it's like a redeeming story. I feel like I am a better parent now that I've been, and I could see grace toward like our story, me giving myself grace and me giving the kids grace. Or because I've learned to receive grace, I can give myself grace and I can extend grace to my kids. And to anyone, I would say to anyone who feel like they're not getting it right, or they kind of like made so many mistakes throughout parenting, like, you don't come already knowing. So if I didn't have faith, I don't think I would be at that place. I probably would be living in guilt and just like, oh my goodness, I think I'm really gonna mess up my kids, because personal growth is a huge thing for me. So I could sit there all day and think, how much money are my kids gonna have to spend in therapy? Like, because I've damaged them, and just like have all that anxiety. But like faith have taught me to like be patient with myself. And also, when you know better, you do better. And I've really seen the transformation on how I parent now, as opposed to if I was going the way I started, what kind of chaos that would have, a ripple effect that would have on the kids.
I love that you said you don't have to have it all figured out. Like, you guys do not have to have it all figured out. I've told so many friends, you winging it. You try, like you said, you trying it. Oh, that worked really well. You try something else. Oh, that didn't work.
That didn't work at all.
That was horrible. And sometimes it's not even, oh, well, I tried this with your brother and he liked it. Sometimes it's the same child, because they like, I don't care if I liked that yesterday. Say I don't like it anymore.
Yes.
Like, okay. But I think that permission to evolve is important when it comes to parenting. And I think, like you said, extending yourself that grace and not comparing yourself to how you used to be, because until you've been a parent, you've never been a parent before. And so I think that, at least for me, I came in with, this is how I should be a mom. This is what it should look like. This is what our schedule is going to be. And it's like, girl, you've never done this before.
Throw away the book.
Yeah, and not to say we're not going to be intentional, right? But you have to really invite God into your parenting and understand, like, okay, God, you actually created this baby on the inside of me, so you do know what they like and what they don't like, and the things that they're going to gravitate towards naturally. And so I will pray, like, God, help me, show me how to love, show me how to discipline. We've even seen how our boys respond to discipline differently. Like with Jaden, he doesn't like getting pops from his husband. With me, he's like, he literally has told me one time, that doesn't hurt. And I'm like, bro, that's so disrespectful. And I knew he was like, girl, come harder, basically. And I really felt a way about that. And I was just like, one, I said, it's not about me trying to hurt you. First off is the thing. Two, you're rude. But then three, I had to say, okay, that's his way of telling me that's not gonna challenge me enough to make me not want to do this.
Right.
And so what I have learned is, as far as myself and Jaden, he doesn't like missing out on something. So if I tell him, okay, well, I guess you're not gonna be able to do this activity, he's like, no, I want to listen. He's literally, I want to be obedient. Okay. So I've learned that about him. Yeah. And so now I walk according to that, right? That knowledge. And again, these are little human beings that are growing and evolving. Yes. So what worked in one season may not work in the next, but that's okay. It's a process.
Absolutely. Right? And even for us, like we would be offended. I know I would be offended if somebody would just expect me to be that exact person in various stages of my life. It's like, keep up with me, pay attention to me. So that's what I'm really expecting from someone who's walking close with me. So it's like that same thing too. I can pay attention. Okay. Like, say, and now I get to parent a young adult kid. Yes. It's like, I'm barely an adult myself. It's like, I don't get this. Right. But I really had to change what parenting should look like for me to be able to like keep a relationship with my daughter and still be the mom and still be able to guide her, but guide her in a way that she's receptive to it. Right. Again, without God, I don't think that would have been possible for me, because I would have had a lot more tendency to hold on to my expectations, to hold on to my own ways, and really when I feel like I'm losing control and kind of like literally lose everything and just like have a chaotic situation and a whole mess. So yeah.
So what are some of the ways you feel like you've grown since becoming a mom? I know, it's like, where do I begin? And maybe think of a recent situation that you're like, man, me as a mom 3 years ago, this is how I would have handled it, and here's how I handled it today, if that makes it easier.
Absolutely. I'm going to go back to my young adult and the move situation. So I'm moving here. I moved here from Rhode Island to Texas. In the process, my daughter wasn't really feeling that move, my oldest, and she was like, I don't think I'm on board with it, because I asked her the question, what did she want to do? This is what I'm doing, this is the direction I'm going. Okay, how does she understand it? What does she want to do? Before, I wouldn't have asked her even what she wanted to do. I would think, you're part of my household, we moving, so like get with it. But the fact that I was able to pause and ask her exactly what did she see for herself, to do an evaluation of where she was at, and if this was something that she would consider, and what would be the values that she would see in it if she would consider it. But honestly, she's in college, and she is from a church. She has responsibilities, she has leadership roles, and those are some stuff that she really loves. And that's a child that's a bit timid, and she's come a long way to kind of like express herself and to create community around her. And I really didn't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
And again, it was one of my answers to my prayers, that she would find community, and then she would have a heart for the things of God, and to see her flowing in that. I did not want to mess that up. Yeah. So having that conversation, it was tough when she was like, I don't want to move. But to see me standing through the process and to see God literally create situations where when I left, she was able to find suitable housing, and she lives with my dad. So she had covering. She stayed within the covering of our church community. So and I wasn't worried about that at all. And we still had a relationship. So when the move was final, she came here with us to visit and kind of see the place. And actually, Friday, she's coming to visit because her semester starts on September 1st. But before she starts school, she will come and spend a couple days with us, which is beautiful because we wouldn't have had that if the situation was like chaotic and if she felt like all I wanted to do is just tell her what to do. So that's where I really had to trust the Lord to give me wisdom to do things in his own timing and the way to have the results and the outcome that he intended for us to have. So that's a completely different story than if it was a few years ago. And we probably would not even be in speaking term because to me, it would just look like I would feel rejection and I would feel like I failed as a mom because I say we're doing something and then she just reject what I'm doing and she doesn't trust me. But now I can look at it. It's really not about me at all because I was raising her to find her own voice, to find her own stand in her life, really. So my role as her mom was to steward her, not to just like tell her what to do because God designed her with specific purpose and she has to find herself. And again, I'm not saying that it was easy because it was a process. I went through all this questioning and all the confusion, like, okay, God, why doesn't she really want to come with me? And I had to get over it when, again, God highlighted to me what the process was meant to be. And it's a beautiful thing right now. We can talk, we can video chat several times. And I feel like we have a beautiful thing going on and she still stays close to her siblings. And it's really beautiful. None of that would have been possible if there wasn't a sort of
maturation.
Exactly.
That's so good. I think something you said that stuck out to me was talking about how this was always the mission, you know, in life. Your goal. I love somebody put it this way. They said your goal as a parent is to work yourself out of a job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you need to get to a place where it's like, all right, I think it's good. Yeah, I think we good. I think you got it from here. Yeah. So, you know, talk to HR on the way out. Hopefully I did a good job. And I think that even in scripture in Psalm, it talks about children being like arrows in a man's quiver.
Yes.
If we take an arrow, you're shooting it out to a specific destination. And we think about our children that way. Okay, we're shooting them out into the world to achieve a specific purpose. Yes. And so if I'm just walking around with the arrows in my quiver all the time, like what am I really doing? And then can I really call myself? Am I really, you know what I mean? Like, am I really doing the work? Am I really, what do they call it? An archman? I don't even know what it's called.
I guess I would.
Who does archery? Exactly. I'm not sure. Am I that person if I'm only carrying the arrows and I'm not shooting them? And so, and you can even bring that to a smaller level on your children going to school for the first time, whether they're starting pre-K or they're going to junior high or whatever the case may be. I don't even know fully if I've done my job as a parent if my children are only ever with me. You know what I mean? Like, am I really, it's not going through any kind of test, right? It's not going through any kind of maturation process because if my children are only ever with me, they're not exposed to outside thinking, they're not exposed to other personalities, then they're not growing as much as they could be. And then if they get out and they are 18 and this is their first time being out of the house and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to try all the things because I didn't have that experience previously. So that was just so good. And when you said that this was always a part of the process, I think that that's something that we have to be mindful of as moms, is that is the goal, to raise good people and then send them out to the world and for them to be able to essentially marry somebody and have children with them and raise good people and send them out into the world. And so I think it's just so good, and it's a good reminder that this was the purpose. I think a lot of times your child is the one going off, right? They're going off to school, but you're like, wait, I'm the one moving and you're staying here? I don't understand how that dynamic works, right? But
right.
He's doing all the things. He knows all the things.
He does. He really does.
So, second to last question. What would you say to someone who is considering having more than 2 children? Because this is called Mama 3 and Me, and y'all, I told y'all I specifically am interviewing women with 3 or more children, not because I don't think mamas with, if you have any child, any number, you're doing the work, okay? But I just want to encourage people who have 3 or more to know that life still does exist, that we're not just out here struggling. We can still look cute. We can still do the, we can still have fun.
Yes.
So what would you encourage someone who is thinking about expanding their family, but they might be worried about if they have the capacity to parent more than 2 children, or if they have the kind of discipline to kind of structure a household of 3 children, or a house of 5 if they're thinking about their spouse as well? What would you say to them?
I would say, since childbearing or parenting is a mission from God, that will have to originate from knowing exactly what God has called them to do. Is God really calling me to have a family of 3 or 4? I know me, I didn't have the question, I just had kids, but now
you're like, but now looking back.
But now looking back. So that's the question I would really ask. Take some time with God and say, okay, God, is this something, because with you all things are possible, is this something you're calling me to? And that being said, know that if this is something God has called you to do, He already has equipped you to deal with the various challenges that you will face, and the fear process, He will remove that from you. I mean, I'm not saying you're not going to have questions, but like to just be anxious over it. No, that is possible to have freedom in that area, because when it all comes down to it, you are a lot of times we're more equipped than we actually think. So we are here looking at our deficiencies, but that's not how God sees us really. Example, myself, I'm a single mom, and I'm raising those 4 kids again. Not that I sat down and I'm like, yeah, I want to have 4 kids, sort of had them. But even in that process, I've seen the faithfulness of God. That's why faith is important, really, to me. And I think it's very helpful for people considering leading anything, because as a parent, you are a leader. And whether you're leading an organization of several employees, or whether you're leading your home, you are taking the role of a leader, and you are being the CEO of that household. So maybe for people who have an entrepreneurial spirit and people of career, because a lot of time too, I think it's like, how is this gonna fit with my career? So you could like revamp the way that you think, and go at it as, okay, let me treat this as, God has given me this organization called my household, and I am the CEO of that household. So now I'm gonna take a look, I'm gonna take inventory of what I have, and then I'm gonna make shift as needed, and I'm just gonna go for it. I mean, it's not a one size fits all, because we are all individuals, and human beings are complicated, because what works for me might not work for you. So I'm not really gonna say, okay, this is the way to do it. So that's why I'm going back to take some time, sit with God, and consider that you might be more equipped than you actually think you are.
And that actually, I was going to ask you, what would you encourage women with? But I think what you just said is a great point to end with, that you're more equipped than you know. Y'all, something that I have to remind myself of every once in a while is that that God surveyed the entire universe in thinking of who should be Jaden's mom, Jonathan's mom, Joshua's mom. And He chose me. He was like, you're the one. And I think that we can get into that comparison culture, right? Thinking like, man, that girl, that mom, her kids are always so well coordinated with their outfits, or that one, her children have great dental hygiene, or wow, she's making those homemade meals every night of the week. And instead of looking at myself through my deficiencies, like you said, I've started to say, well, what gifts do I bring to my family?
Yes.
How are my sons blessed to have me as their mom?
Absolutely.
Well, okay, I'm the organizer, I'm the administrator, and I really like having fun. So I'm gonna plan the trips. I'm gonna do movie dates in the middle of the week. I took my boys to see Paw Patrol yesterday, and they really loved it. Like, just thinking things like that, right? Where there might be another mom who that's not really her focus as much, because she's more focused on, okay, my kids are going to be in the top schools, and so they're going to have this study routine, this study schedule, and that may be what those children need. And God knew that mom was perfectly positioned to ingrain those disciplines and ingrain those values into their children. And so I just want to really emphasize what you said, that you're more equipped than you think. And I think sometimes even y'all watching YouTube, you're like, okay, maybe they have some magical wisdom. No, it's not even that. I wanted to create this channel more than anything to, like I said at the very beginning, let you know that you probably are more equipped than you think. You probably have a lot of the resources, or you might be like, wow, Merilyne said to do that. I already do that. So hopefully it ties back to the encouragement piece. As you realize that you are already as you realize that you are already equipped, it encourages you to keep going. And then you stop comparing, because you realize, no, I am the best mom for my children.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you don't have growth opportunities, right? That there are things that you can't improve upon. But I think that there is a new level of confidence that comes when you realize, in the same way an employer might pick you for a job and that gives you a boost of confidence, God looked at you and said that you were the best CEO for this particular organization.
Yes, absolutely. And then again, I understand that people have different home dynamics. So people need to be very mindful of that. To go back to your point of not comparing ourselves.
Yeah.
Because what works for somebody else may not be what works for me. Because again, myself as a single parent, you know, and I could look at it and I'm like, there's no way I can raise kids, because all I have to offer them is brokenness. But that's not true at all. With God, all things are possible. I had to go back to God and say, okay, God, I'm going to partner with you on this. So give me the wisdom on how to raise those kids and make you partner. And I know that you can literally take over what I feel like I'm not bringing to the table, because it's never really my job to have it all. So my job is to make sure I sit with God and get a revelation of and a vision of what exactly he had in mind for these kids, and try to follow along. And one quick example, on Sunday, one of my daughters, we wanted to get her jazz shoes for dance, because the teacher was going to count it against her if she didn't have her uniform. At that point, I was coming from the park with another one. And the last thing I really wanted to do is run to the shoe store, because I felt like there were so many things on my schedule that I needed to get ready for Monday. So what we were able to do was, okay, the little one needed to read, and we needed to do prayer. So I said, okay, everybody get in the car. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna pray, we're gonna read those prayer cards as we're driving and have those conversations. And then on my way back, the little one can actually do her reading. So when I get home, she can take a shower and then I can put her to bed, and we still got to do everything we needed to do. But then again, is it like a conventional way of doing things? No, but you have to be able to look at what's in your hand and then exactly what you're working with. Go back to what your values are, what your vision is for your family, and follow through that. Just like you said, maybe somebody's priority is to make sure that kids are in a great school, and somebody else's priority might be to just make sure these kids are just feeling leveled, or they just like have a feel of, we have a family environment that actually works. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna create fun, and then we're gonna make sure people don't feel like pressured, and that's exactly what we're gonna go for. Again, what your vision is for your family, that's what God has put in your heart, and that's how he has designed you to just go for it. But what God has placed in my heart is different. So I don't have the right to just look at myself and disqualify myself and say, okay, I'm gonna do this model, when that might not be the model that works for us at all.
Love that. Well, I so enjoyed this conversation, Merilyne.
you.
You said so many things that I think will be an encouragement to the women who are watching, and I hope that you'll come back and chat with us again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I mean, just like us meeting overall and just have that opportunity to sit and chat. And I don't take that lightly. So I appreciate you for inviting me to share your audience. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.